What's up, YouTube? Eugene here, joined by my fellow perfume enthusiast, Daniel, once again. And we've got a box from Roja Dove. So Roja reached out. This was, last year sometime. This was shipped to me February 14th of this year, and I'm just getting to it now. I kept holding off, and eventually forgot about it. But, in speaking to Daniel, talking about things that we would like to review, we said let's do Roja Dove. We saved the best for last. Let's say it like that. But Daniel, are you familiar with Roja's Parfums? And I have no idea what's in here.
Yeah,
they reached out and they're like, what can we send you? What would you like to try? Anything specific? I said, you know what? Surprise me.
It could be like a lock of Roja's hair. We have no idea what's in there.
No. Yeah, exactly. Right, I don't know.
Never. He's bald.
I'd love to smell his underwear, actually, see what that comes off.
Okay. I don't know how to...
Send us your undies, Roja.
Yeah, exactly. He'll do it. So we were talking. So Roja's fragrances, I think it's an interesting line. I have a brother lived in New York, so I used to go to Bergdorf's, which was one of the only places you could really find Roja's line. And I think like today, like a lot of the guys have gotten their hands on the stuff, or even like the exclusives overseas. But you really couldn't get it unless you were at Harrods, or it was a very limited distribution sort of company. So I smelled it there. And I think I was, at the time, kind of just getting into fragrance. So I was more like sticker shock than anything else. And I think I just kind of like smelled them, but just wasn't really going to look at them seriously because I just figured I'll never buy them. But now, again, like the splitting world, where people are doing these splits, they're much more accessible than they used to be, or the gray market where people are getting discounters. But anyway, I've smelled quite a few of them since. I've got probably a couple of decants from the line and stuff. Let's see what's in here. Wow.
Roja's always been hard for us to get in Canada, especially retail. And I've always been like, I need to smell these. I was always so curious. And so we've got a list here.
Right, samples. Okay, cool. So it's a sample collection.
Yeah, they're all 7.5 ml samples.
Wow, nice.
We've got Goodnight Kiss, Danger Parfum, Reckless Parfum, Haute Luxe, Scandal, Vetiver, Great Britain. Wow.
Nice.
Elysium and Creation E. Wow. Okay.
Oh, great.
Excellent list here. They've picked out some wonderful samples. But yeah, I've always been so curious. And, the few Rojas that I have, I enjoy immensely. Like, you can tell the quality is there. And the price, the price is up there. They're at a higher price point, but it kind of reflects in the craftsmanship of their perfumes.
Yeah, that's sort of something that I've noticed with the ones that I've smelled. Like, I've smelled a range of things at different prices, and I think I'm like reasonably good at assessing, like, is it worth the price, and is the stuff good? And I know there's like a mix of opinions about sort of Roja, about the work, about sort of what they smell like compared to other things, about the price points. Also, by the way, maybe check out his YouTube channel, because he's just started a YouTube channel, and so he does a lot of Q&A, and he talks about some of his fragrances and stuff. I think he's well spoken. I think he really does know what he's talking about. I don't know if you have his book, but I've got his book.
I don't have his book, no,
Perfume.
but I've watched his YouTube channel.
Yeah, but his book is excellent. It covers like the history of perfume, the perfume making. Well, like, I think he's the real deal.
He's got great taste in fragrance, and he spent, I think decades with Guerlain, where he's really honed his craft, right? Yeah. And that's where he's learned.
Yeah, so I trust. I mean, I'm sure like within any line, like there are a mix of. Wow, that's nice.
Okay, where do we start? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a mix of sort of stuff in there, but yeah, I mean, of what I've smelled, I've been impressed.
From the three, I've owned Diaghilev, which I love immensely. I think it's a masterful Chypre creation. Fetish is an excellent spicy, smoky leather. Like, when you wear these, it's just like top-notch quality. The blending is perfect. And there's absolutely nothing I would say needs to be changed about them.
Yeah, I think so a couple of points that I want to make just about the line, like, as much as I know them. one of the questions is like and this could be a controversial point. We don't really often talk about price point because price depends on the country you're in. Price is relative to how much you have in terms of money or how much you're willing to spend on things. So often price is just not really
subjective.
It's subjective, and so it's not really like you could talk about it as a good value. But price sort of seems almost completely separate from what is it and how does it smell like, and that's really what it is. You're wearing a thing that smells, and so does it smell good, and do you like it, and is it well made, is it interesting? I think there's a lot more things you can talk about than price, but when they are this expensive, it does sometimes come up. I do think that many of Roja's creations are worth the retail price. So yes, they're expensive, but I think the ratio of what you're getting versus what the price is, I think in Roja's case, in many of them, not all, there are definitely some that I don't think are the case, but I think when you smell the quality of the work, they smell like as expensive as they are. And I don't think, yes, everything is a little overpriced, but especially if you can get them gray market or you get them for cheaper, they're definitely well worth those prices. Where like if it's $1,000 perfume and you can get a gray market for $700, then it's a great deal, even though it's still $700. But again, and you can get these 7 mils. People will sell them sometimes. You can get in on splits, and the juice is often so potent that like I have some that I like, but I don't need 100 mil. Like I just got a 10 mil and got it on the split, and the packaging's great or gaudy depending on how you see it. But I think the juice is good and it's interesting. I think Roja knows what he's doing for the most part. And the second point that I want to make, which is actually a discussion that you and I had, I think based on previous videos that you had, which was a question around, is Roja a clone house? And I made the case that I don't think he is. And actually, we were talking about this at the meetup. I think Roja knows what he's doing, and I think he takes, in some cases, like classic concepts and classic ideas,
and
modernizes them. I don't think he's attempting to literally try and recreate or copy it. So it's possible that you'll smell some of his work and go, oh, that smells like Bellamy, that smells like Mitsuko, that smells like whatever, Shalimar, But I think it's because he knows exactly what those fragrances are. I think he's making a nod to these sort of iconic classic scents, but I think he's deconstructed them and then reconstructed them, and I think he's either modernized them or he's used better ingredients. Like I think he's taken an interesting design, but actually made it even as what that perfumer probably wishes they could have done if they had the budget to work with. Yeah. Like if Mitsuko was like a Guerlain exclusive fragrance and it was 5 times the price and they had the budget for the ingredients, what would they have made? Maybe that's what he's doing. So I won't say that all of his work is necessarily unique, but I don't think he's attempting to copy or clone. I think these are homages to really sort of classic.
Well, even if he had decided to copy them, he's taken great perfumes for inspiration. He's taken classics. He hasn't taken junk and said, I'm going to make this junk better.
I think he's respected things that were unique and are landmarks and have stood the test of time because they're just fantastic fragrances to begin with, and I think he's put his spin on it, or he's done a better quality ingredient version of it. So I'm excited to smell. Some of these I think are European exclusives. I haven't seen them.
Okay, so let's smell Danger or Homme Parfum. Have you smelled any of these?
Years ago. I mean, I just don't remember off the bat.
Okay. Yeah. I wish I had the note breakdown of these.
And my impression of these is they generally tend to be fairly complex and fairly like rich and blended, so they're a little hard to like pick apart. So look, I could be totally off, but which has happened before. But this smells like a Guerlain. It smells like classic French perfumery.
Classic, smooth, like super fine and smooth.
This is
I smell a lot of florals.
Yeah.
Like right up to the top, green.
I was gonna say lavenders and like
florals.
But there's like a powdery but it's like they don't make fragrances like this anymore.
Oh no.
It's rich
like
and
green and woods and woodsy.
Yeah. Well, like what I like is that there's clearly like 5 things going on at the same time, but they're so well blended and like you can smell the richness, the thickness of like.
This is old school masculinity.
Yeah.
Like this is something I would wear this definitely, but this is something you picture as a child your father wearing.
Yeah, this is what a man smells
on a Sunday in his suit.
Yeah, exactly. This is a like absolutely refined gentleman,
Woody, spicy, floral.
Yeah.
This is like what a Parisian would smell like.
Yeah. And not necessarily, like, I think it smells refined, but I don't want to say that it's like a rich man. I think this is like still fairly accessible. Like, this could be anyone's dad.
It's got a nice soapy quality to it.
But it's like a man who takes care of himself. Like, he goes to the barber, or he just come
Right.
back from the barber, you know. But again, there's also this like funk in there. There's definitely some like mustiness and dryness underneath it. That's
Sure,
like,
that's what
like,
gives it this character, the richness.
Yeah.
Genre? To me, this smells like a fougere.
It was my first thought when I smelled it. I was like, oh, fougere.
Soapy, floral barbershop fougere.
Yeah, but a bit of everything. Like there's floral things, there's woody things, there's spices, there's powder.
Mossy.
Yeah.
There's a bit of mossiness, and there's
Definitely,
a nice
definitely.
sparkle to it.
Yeah, I think if you like the sort of classics, like maybe I think even Jiki's like friendlier than this. I think this is a little richer and deeper. I think yeah, but it's sort of along those lines, or like the sort of what do you say, like
It's gorgeous.
yeah,
like,
I don't know.
It's
This
really
is,
good.
Yeah, and it smells like classic French perfumery.
Absolutely.
But just really nicely done. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just quality. Wow.
Okay. Excellent. Scandal?
Sure.
All right. I'll let you have the first sniff.
Thank you.
I wish I had kind of like a little brief or description. Very peppery.
Yeah, I can't like. I'm not gonna say overtly that it's like a leather fragrance, and it's not quite. But it. Yeah, it's spices, and it's sort of. It does smell dangerous. It smells.
This is Scandal.
Yeah, it smells a bit like.
I smell vetiver.
If this was called fetish, then I would also think so. Like, meaning it smells like, yeah, just an earthier, spices, masculine. It does smell to me like dark browns.
Again, this is very mossy to me. Another ode to classic fine French perfumery. Fougere, Chypre, maybe a mix of both. Very mossy, woodsy. Lots of forest floor to this.
Yeah, where the other one smelled more like elegant, refined, barbershoppy gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, this smells a little more like a guy who owns a motorbike kind of ish. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit richer, a little spicier. It's more the leather jacket than the suit, I think.
A lot of citrus, a lot of like this. It's like crisp pops of citrus in the top.
I was even going to point out like the citrus that he was using in the previous one that I smelled, like the just really good, nice lemon, but it wasn't like a bright, punchy lemon. It wasn't like a crisp, fresh lemon. It was like kind of like the lemon rinds, you know. It was like it's different. It's just sort of the tone of the fragrances is different.
Yeah, it's really good. Again, like
I just don't think anyone makes perfume like
No.
Frederic Malle has hints of this. There are moments when Guerlain, like we were talking about Louis, where like it's a modern creation, but it smells like something they made 50 years ago. Like it's just these are sort of classics. I mean, look, in a way, maybe that's what most of his line is targeting, which is guys who are in their 50s and 60s who wore the stuff that long ago and have the money now, but they want the
somebody
quality.
with money, obviously.
Yeah, they have the money, but that's why maybe he's now done things like
you can't be
Elysium
on a budget and wanting to wear this.
But I think that's why he's done the cologne versions, and he's done things like Elysium, which are like the younger targeted audience. These are really sophisticated fragrances. I think I think they're beautiful and elegant, and the quality really comes through. I don't know how young you could wear these, you know, like how or rather how old you need to be to start wearing these to be kind of like
absolutely
congruent.
A lot of earth tones to this. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like it just screams of nature, outdoors, earth, classy,
well blended.
Absolutely. That's the first thing that stands out, is just how smooth and well-rounded everything is.
Yeah. And so far, I mean, we've done two, but they're just totally different from each other, which is good. You know, sometimes you find lines get a little muddy when they have like a house accord, or you're just not really sure how they all fit in.
So this is vetiver.
Oh, okay. So I remember smelling this, and yeah, I remember it just being a very high quality but classic, like Tom Ford Grey vetiver, like a clean, straight, citrusy vetiver.
It's so dry, like a gin and tonic.
Oh, there is dry. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, never mind. This is much more.
I get a lot of incense and bright citrus, very crisp, clean fragrance. This is again like a Sunday with your best suit, very classy.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that like dank, musty, earthy ness. I wouldn't say it's like peppery, and it's not overly smoky. It's almost like an inky, iodine-y kind of.
I find it more smoked vetiver roots than actually it's very lush as well. So you have components of smoked vetiver root and lush green wet vetiver.
But it's not overly citrusy or fresh and clean. And it's not overly like Frederic Malle's like vetiver extraordinaire. I find very like a hollow, smoky. There's like a pepperiness to it. It's spicy. Right. So this I think is a little bit like earthy dank, but not quite. I get an iodine feel.
This is more earthy dank than woody.
Yeah.
Comparing the vetiver.
I smell iodine. I smell like a kind of almost like a marine-ish kind of dankness to it. Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of incense in here. There's a lot of sparkle to this. Like sparkle of light and then a reflection of green.
And also what I think is interesting about this is like I think certain vetivers are seasonal appropriate, but this I think you could wear this in both like winter and summer. I think there's both sides of it that it could work for both. Like this could hold up in the heat and this could work in the cold. I think it's kind of got a bit of both.
I love that sparkle of light. Wow, so interesting. So dry as well. Like that dryness really stands out.
Yeah, look again. I'm impressed with the quality, right? Like I think it shines through. Also, I don't know the price points on these. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the vetiver I think is like a different price point. I think it's not as expensive as the others. Like those, I think I don't know, but I think they're part of a different collection. At least when I smelled it, maybe they're different bottles. But some of them are like eau de parfums. Some of them have cologne.
These are extracts for the most part.
Yeah, some of them are eau de parfums. They do have extract
Parfums,
versions.
so extrait and this is a parfum.
Okay, and then he came out with a cologne parfum, which he has a video on explaining on YouTube, explaining what that is, because it's like a new category where it's like a higher concentrated cologne, or it's a cologne version of a parfum. But essentially, there's like a whole range of concentrations.
This is like Guerlain Vetter, but taken to like another level. I've always thought Guerlain's vetiver is one of the greatest perfumes ever created.
I wish
I get a lot of inspiration of that.
Yeah, I wish Guerlain had a boutique exclusive version of their vetiver where they put in all the really good ingredients and they kind of went somewhere with it. And I feel like their current one is great and I love it, but it's a commercial level thing that they've been pumping out for 50 years. But I wish there was like a boutique version that was $300 of Guerlain's vetiver where you see what they could really do.
Well, there you go. You have it.
Yeah.
And this is Reckless.
Yeah, so I think one thing that happened when I smelled the line was I just got confused between all the names because it was like Danger, Reckless, Scandal, and like I just was like I don't know, it's just a collection of bad boys and I don't remember which one's which. Like one of them's a leather guy, one of them's the like must guy. Like I just sort of I remember not remembering which one was which at the end of the day. So I just remember the names being like, oh, I think this is the boozy one. I'm getting I haven't smelled it yet.
I was gonna say it's quite sweet.
Oh yeah, I'm getting like a cognac-y.
Again, I'm getting
whiskey.
I'm getting a huge amber accord, incensey, abrasive, scratchy ambers or embers or
Yep, I'm getting absolutely. Boozy amber. There's a bit of a
leather. There's a little bit of leather in here as well.
I kind of get so like Ambre Fétiche from Annick Goutel is like kind of a smoky, crackly leather jacket amber. There's a bit of that underneath. On the top, there's kind of this booziness that you get from parfumery, not Parfum Journal, Ambre Russe, Parfum d'Empires, Ambre Russe, which is like a salty, almost like amber gris, salty amber fragrance. So I got like a cognac-y, boozy thing with some spice underneath it.
Absolutely gorgeous. I get a lot of woods, like burnt, dark, golden brown, embery woods from this. like underneath that boozy accord.
Yeah. Did you get that like kind of? My first hit was like alcohol.
I got the sweet, not perfumer's alcohol, but
Yeah. Sorry, like a whiskey cognac-y
right
kind of yeah.
Yeah, that's the first. It was sweet, but it's quickly, starting to fade, and the woods and the leather are coming out, and the spices. Again, very sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, very smooth. It's got that abrasiveness, which is probably some form of patchouli, but still, it's got this really refinement to it.
Yeah, I'm getting also like this leathery, like not the smell of leather necessarily, but sometimes you get like leather polish or like a leather like turpentine kind of like industrial leather smell. So yeah, I'm getting like a slight sort of gluey industrial leather underneath this. But again, like...
I'll be honest, it's been my least favorite so far. I love those three, and this is great.
I think this is very well done, but I think
Absolutely.
It's the least maybe unique of the pack.
For my personal preference, I much prefer those three classic genres.
Yeah, whereas I happen to love amber fragrances, so for me, this is a great version of what amber can be.
Yeah.
And like if you said, okay, I want an amber that does it all, this is pretty solid.
Your favorite?
For my style and taste, yes. But I tend to have an issue with stuff that's kind of like an older style.
Right.
Meaning I appreciate the classics, but like we were talking before, like I have trouble wearing Shalimar, I have trouble wearing Mitsuko, but like I appreciate them for what they are. And these are very well done versions of really classic French concepts. I even smell like a greenness in here, like a bitter green. A bitter greenness. I
can see what you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
There's something like sharp and medicinal.
It's oak moss.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's that
it's
kind
oak moss
of
patchouli.
Yeah, where like sometimes patchouli has this like burnt.
Labdanum.
You know, patchouli can sometimes be like like when I smelled Tom Ford's patchouli, wasn't purple patchouli, it was the newer one, the patchouli absolute. My first thought was like gasoline and petroleum, and it was almost like a burning.
It's almost like there's some kind of green spices, like these aromatic spices as well.
But I get like a bitter greenness out of it that's like almost like that cypriol oil kind of idea. But I think patchouli sometimes has that where it's like it's
funny when we originally sprayed this right away. I thought Oriental, and now it's kind of transitioning to this.
Because I thought this was like a boozy amber thing, but
it's green. It's Chypre.
That seems to be something
really
that
curious
does.
What this would turn into.
Yeah, that seems to be something that Roja does, where he's able to like blend several categories together, and it sort of morphs into something completely different.
And I just tell you, like the kind of skill level you're looking at. We've had this on paper for 2 minutes, and it's already like I've already picked up 3-4 transitions.
Yeah, his is like whenever I smell this stuff, it's like a full cast. Like there's so many characters, and they're all like in tune, and they're all unfolding the way they were meant to unfold.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, we've talked about this before, like, he's often seen at the Perfume Oregon, and I don't know if he, I'd be curious to actually talk about this subject, but I don't know if he's actually the perfumer himself. My personal speculation is I think that Roja knows what he's doing in terms of the compositions, in terms of the accords and the combinations.
Giving a brief.
I think he gives a brief, but I think he also knows enough of the chemistry and enough of the stuff where he maybe is even tinkering and making like a sketch of a formula and handing it off. I don't know if he's the guy who's literally sitting down and polishing the formula, but I'm pretty sure, like I think he works with Robertet or something,
okay.
I think. But I think they're more than just the lab that makes it. My hunch is that he basically is a creative director who comes up with the concept, comes up with the idea, and produces it 80% of the way and pretty much knows kind of what it should be like. And then someone else comes in and sort of fixes it up. But I think somewhere between having the budget to use good real ingredients and like perfume was always meant to be a luxurious product. Like perfume was always an expensive art form. It's like when cars came out and they were always expensive, and then you got the Ford and the Model T. Like that was a revolution because no one had a cheap car. It was an expensive item, and they all had real wood and real leather because you were paying that much for the car anyway. So I think sort of Roja's back to what perfume was, which was it was meant to be a $1,000 bottle that had amazing things in it and was designed and created by a master, and people would smell it and go, "What is that? You smell incredible." And then you basically had like Eau de Cologne and Farina House, who basically revolutionized the business with, this is water that you splash on you, and it's half disinfectant and half just like basically was rubbing alcohol with some flower juice in it, and it was just like, it's a disinfectant and a whatever.
Right.
And then now we really have all this in between, which is your commercial brands that are making $50, $100 fragrances. But to me, and people who I think are interested in fragrance and niche stuff, you'll notice that yes, there are fragrances that are $50 that are good. Yes, there are fragrances that are $500, $600, $700, $8, $100 that are not good. But at least for me, there seems to be around this niche price point of around 200 to, let's say, 400, where the jump in quality is significantly different, and what you're getting is not the same as the $50 fragrances. They function and they work, but like Hyundai's will get you there. The Lexus will make it a nice drive. The BMW will make it a fun drive. And the Bentley is going to be a whole different kind of experience. But in the old days, there only were Duesenbergs. There only were Bentleys. There was no other way to do it. So I think Roja is sort of hearkening back to really what perfume can be. And in a way, if you're interested in really exploring what perfume probably was and probably could be, I think you could start with the higher end of commercial lines, the Hermesences, the Dior Privés, all the private lines where they actually have a little budget to work with, or you just go straight to a line like Roja where I think he's using
all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, he's flexing that budget, and he's really using the skill and all the knowledge to produce really great perfumes. And I'd be curious if maybe in 50 or 100 years, some of his stand out as sort of what we think of as, or at least for me, Guerlain and Hermes and some of these kind of older houses that are the classics. Maybe Roja will be the house in 50 or 100 years that's seen as the classics,
what Guerlain is known for.
Yeah, and they still do make some of that
20 years
work.
ago, not today. But.
Yeah, well, parts of the line. I think Guerlain has had to adapt and become a different kind of a line, and I think there are places within it where they do that kind of stuff. But they need their Bleu de Chanel, they need their Terre d'Hermès, their Guerlain Homme, right?
Sure.
So it's a mixed bag. But I think Roja's, and even Roja's line, he has these cologne, line too, and so he's playing around with the price points and the target markets. But
yeah, marketing.
I just think the quality of this work is really a nod to an older style of perfume that no one does this anymore. And the price points are not just arbitrary. I think he's really showing what can be done when you're willing to pay for real perfume.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Creation E. Oh, wow.
They're all so different from each other.
Yeah, very sweet.
Again, it reminds me of, I guess, Guerlain DNA, but it's like, and another thing too is like some of these are quite masculine, but some of them are like a bit unclear. I'm not sure if they're masculine or feminine. I think he does masculine versions of some of these as well. Like the black boxes, I think are the men's, and then the white boxes, not the exclusives, but I think there's a white
almost
box version.
Like cough syrup or cherry.
Yeah. But there's
I'm not familiar with any of these, and I haven't looked up the briefs, or I can see that powdery aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
But to me, it's syrupy, sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet and
I get
syrupy,
a lot of florals as well.
Floral.
Maybe even some civet.
Yeah, but there's sort of funky florals in there.
Yeah, I can see that.
And powder and sweetness, which will probably kind of burn off. And
almost
again,
I get medicine, like, as a kid when
like
your mom shoves that cough syrup down your throat. That's what I get. And that's not to say, that's not a judgment, good or bad.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
exactly.
I was just going to say, it's not like I don't like it. It's.
But again, under that, I get those. I get that, the patchouli and the green oak moss.
Like, I get bits of everything in this as well, and yet it's different from everything else, and also different from anything else I've ever smelled.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Another green chypre. It smells like to me, which is weird because, green oak moss, cherry cough syrup.
Like it's a bit of everything. I think
I'm so curious what this could be.
I think my hunch is that also kind of like Roja's line. I think there are a lot of characters in this cast, and I think they go through several phases, and I think these are all very well timed and executed. Where I think like you can wear this, and it's a story that will unfold over 5-10 hours, and so like even just our first impressions, they're changing as we're smelling them.
Right.
But they're all calibrated to be that way. Like they're all these characters that come in, they tell their story, and then citrus is gone. But like he showed up, he did his job, and then he left, and then now it's so and so's turn, and like.
But he's memorable. You know, the citrus is there, but it's memorable.
And you would spray it just to enjoy that, but you know what phase you're in the fragrance, and then it moves to the next phase. Yeah, so they seem complex. They seem to be blending genres. They seem to have like a bit of everything, and yet they're familiar. Like these smell familiar, but not quite. I can't quite place it.
Classic genre,
but I can't quite be like, oh, this is a copy of whatever. They feel familiar in their concept, but not quite. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is. So I think there's something about them that feel very classic.
With a little bit of time, you know, it would come, but
yeah. But it's not like, oh, this smells just like blank.
It's somehow very comfortingly familiar.
Yeah, yeah. And I know I keep just going back to Guerlain, but these feel like maybe what Guerlain was making.
Right.
You know.
When they were using more naturals.
Yeah, or they were targeting a different kind of audience. Or it was just a different era, right? Like different perfumers.
It's absolutely...
Like meaning Elena turned Hermes into an Elena kind of creation machine, and it worked for them, but it really was not the same as old Hermes. And Vassar's, you know, had his turn with Guerlain, and he's done good work. But it's not the same as the stuff they were making a long time ago, and that's fine. The house has to adapt and evolve, and it's not good or bad work. But yeah, this stuff just feels... It's weird because part of me thinks they're dated, but then they also just smell so familiar. They just smell like... They probably... Like, these concepts probably are the bones and the basis of what we know today for a lot of fragrances. I'm sure that, like, a lot of the stuff we smell are these, like, watered-down photocopy of photocopy echoes of these classics where people 50, 100 years ago sat down for years and finally came up with a concept. And now they just launch one after another, and they're just not that interesting or exciting. So these sort of feel familiar... Maybe a little dated, but I think they've been modernized enough that they're mostly wearable. But they are, I think, a little older skewing, at least the ones we're smelling now. But just yeah, great, rich, complex, well-structured,
mix of florals and woods and mosses and earth tones.
And like I said of like Frederick Malle sometimes, where he's got these like master tacticians, where they're really building an orchestra to tell a story. All of these are like that to me. These are all orchestra stories. Like he's a master that is conducting
this is a show.
Many players at the same time, and they're all the best players in their business. You know, like the citrus is the best citrus.
I have a feeling, as great as those we're now getting into the heavier hitters.
Yeah.
And I've only heard of these things. Great Britain, A Goodnight Kiss.
I'm interested to see. Yeah, I'm interested to see what these smell like. My hunch is they're going to be really not accessible in the sense that they're easy to like. I think what's happening, which is kind of a weird phenomenon, is I think because even though we have this like modern industry where there's like global reach, where things are easy to transport between countries and stuff, I think a trend that's happening in the industry is you get these like micro creations where they're really targeting specific markets. So in the same way as we were talking before, Frederick Malle might have really made most of his like desert collection for the Middle Eastern market because they'll pay those prices, they know what they're looking at, and they appreciate it. And so yes, there's some people who are going to buy it over in the West, but like they maybe have not been built for them. And you'll see guys like Killian who make city exclusives, Tom Ford who made city exclusives, and then Le Labo city exclusives. So there's almost like this micro little world where they're making it for certain things. My hunch is these are Roja's really kind of like Harrods buyers, and we got our hands on them, but they were never really meant for the Western markets.
All right, good point.
That's
yeah,
my hunch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and which one is this?
This is Great Britain.
Wow.
Parfum. Wow.
Firstly, big fragrance. Wow, this is a massive cloud of a fragrance. And I'm getting like, I don't know if it's tobacco or leather, but it's like...
I get a leather from that.
Yeah, I'm getting like a smoky birch tarry leather. I don't get...
Green florals, dry. There's this contrast of dry and wet.
Yeah, there's so many things going on in this. But I get, that like green aromatic sensation. I definitely get like, the smoky leather. I want to say tobacco, but it's more like an ashy smoke of a tobacco, not like a sweet, sticky tobacco. Like there's not really a sweet scent.
Okay. Like a dry tobacco?
Yeah. Like a tin tobacco, like British things, right? Like I'm thinking, what are British smells? And I'm thinking...
it's not a tobacco as like a picture perfect tobacco, like...
I'm picturing like an unsmoked cigarette. Like it's a dry, almost like ashy tobacco sensation. I'm getting browns. I'm getting purples.
Yeah, I definitely getting those mosses again.
And there's these greens. That seems to be a common
here.
theme. Yeah, he seems to use that.
It's like mosses, woods, florals. You know, I'm getting a lot of jasmine from this. This dry,
I won't say
slightly skanky jasmine.
Yeah, this doesn't feel to me like as easy to wear or like comfortable. This isn't like a comfortable fragrance or cozy fragrance. This to me smells like a bit of a power scent. It's a bit of like an aggressive, dominant, like strong person kind of fragrance. The others felt kind of like the barbershop, you know, father.
Yes.
You know, the sort of the guy in his, you know, spices, or I don't know. Somehow they seemed more approachable and friendly. This feels a bit unapproachable to me.
It's skanky. This might have been inspired by Cuir de Russie. I'm starting to get that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, when we were smelling it and we were talking about. So whenever I picture Cuir de Russie, I picture like a woman in a full length fur coat with like a cigarette holder,
sexy,
and like a white, like, you know, kind of limo type thing, and a driver opening the door, and this is what she smells like. And there's a bit of an unwashed body,
yeah, absolutely,
you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's the leather, you know, thing. There's the cigarette. There's the old fur coat. And it just smells like sort of
after sex almost.
Yeah, it's
like you've got that skin, that unwashed,
right. Like someone's had sex in the back of that limo, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know, in the apartment and going to have sex again.
Yeah, there's a real like raunch. Yeah, there's a raunchy animalicness to that leather.
A little bit of furry musks as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think if you like Cuir de Russie, this to me again is like probably even that, which is an exclusive. And actually, also by the way, like I don't know if you smelled the Parfum version of Cuir de Russie.
I'm not as familiar as.
Okay, sometimes with those that Chanel exclusive line, I think the Parfum versions are actually quite good. Like if you smell Chanel number 5 Parfum, if you smell number 22 Parfum, they just released a new version, actually a version of I think Coromandel, and so a few of these ones. But Cuir de Russie, if you like it, also check out the Parfums. They never used to have the testers at the boutique, but now they do.
The Pure Parfum, right?
The Pure Parfums, right. Yeah, because those are really good. And same sort of point again, which is even though they're Chanel exclusives, when you smell the Parfums, they really have the budget to work with, and they're really good.
They really stand out.
Yeah, we had a lady come into the store once, and she's like, I'm getting married, I need a fragrance. And I was like, you need something that's beautiful, that's amazing, that's iconic, that you're never going to, like, it's never going to date. I was like, get Chanel number 5, get the Parfum version. This is something which is classy, it's elegant, it's simple, and you'll wear it for the next 50 years, and it's the best version of what that fragrance will be.
Style,
yeah.
Okay, so this is Goodnight Kiss, and I think I remember seeing an interview with Roja saying the inspiration for this was when his mother would go out in the evening and she would put him to bed and give him a kiss before she left.
Okay, nice.
I thought that was quite clever.
Yeah, nice. That seems a bit different actually from the rest of his line, where it's not like a personal story necessarily, or I don't know the stories behind the rest of the fragrances if they exist. So this seems like maybe a personal.
I'm getting a lot of florals to this.
My first thought is my mother, who wears Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche.
Yeah.
And my first impression was big 80s
powdery floral.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Musky.
There's like a talky must, big sort of, and also it's a mix of like white florals. There's green florals.
Yellow florals.
This smells like a very old Dior, like one of those like Diorama, Diorescence, Diorella, like it's one of those.
Yeah.
So I'm smelling like tuberose. This is like fracasse, like Robert Piguet's. Like I'm smelling tuberosy greenness. I'm smelling like powderiness.
There's this weird dry mustiness to this.
It's like a dry floral, like
it's almost like mimosa or.
What's Frederic Malle's Fleur de Cassis?
Yeah.
That kind of dry, powdery.
That's why I just said mimosa. Like.
Yeah. What else?
Cassis,
he has the other one, Parfum de Terrasse, also has this sort of mustiness to it as well. If I recall that one correctly, there's those two I was confused. Yeah, so this smells to me like classic 80s feminine floral.
Absolutely.
Right? A bit green floral, a bit powdery, a little bit musty.
It smells like a massive floral bouquet to me.
Yeah.
like a huge mixture and arrangement of different florals.
And it's like an older lady with like a pearl necklace.
Yeah.
Or she has like a big bouquet in the front, in the front hallway that like, the housekeepers, regularly change.
Oh, wow. It's just like there's so much happening. It's hard to grasp everything. Like I'm trying to visualize what florals do I get, but I get a sense of violets or carnations or very older style of things that you would find in perfume.
Yeah, and it's realistic too. Like it's a realistically done version of it. Like it smells like the flowers. It smells to me like you've walked into the front hallway.
Right.
And like the mother's there waiting to go out. She's putting on her shoes. There's a bouquet of flowers in the front entrance. She's sprayed her like big heavy 80s floral florientals. And it's it's dry and it's powdery, but it's also like bitter and resinous. I would say that this is I don't think it's sexual, so I don't think there's like any sort of sensuality to this.
No.
It's I wouldn't say it's maybe slightly like, I don't want to say standoffish, but I always feel like green florals are a bit because they're green and they're punchy, I feel like they're always a little sort of standoffish, like they're a little bit cooler and cold. So this feels like motherly, but a stern mother. This doesn't feel like your warm, it's not lipstick rose. It's not your warm cozy aunt.
No,
it's not it's not a portrait of a lady who's your big loud aunt. It's a quite a an uptight pearls lady in her Chanel.
It's almost like a more austere number 19. It feels austere, dry.
Yeah, this feels like a marble hallway with a bouquet of flowers, and she's putting on her Louboutins, and she's got her thing, and they're going to the opera for the night, and she kisses you goodnight.
And it's changed quite a bit since we've sprayed this. It's more now dry and leathery.
Yeah, that section on the top is gone.
A lot of those powdery florals, those sharp florals have already pushed back. Wow.
Yeah, and yet
you don't see stuff like this.
Nobody makes this. Yeah, and it feels familiar. Again, it feels familiar, but no one else.
Comfortingly
familiar. Like it's the smell of your own life somewhere or somehow, or something that someone you knew would smell like that. Yeah. And again, quality. Like I don't know the range on the prices of all of these, but to me, these are at least as good as the sort of master market niche stuff that's kind of the 300-400 range. So if you told me these are 5, 6, 7, I'd say they smell like that. If you told me they're like 8, 9, 1,000, then I'd say okay, maybe it's a little much.
This has punch to it, and this is Roja HAUTE LUXE Parfum.
Yeah, it smells. I can't say it's boozy.
Incense right off
but
the
it's
bat.
Like
incense,
but it's sweet and like
sparkling.
Yeah, it smells like a champagne. There's a
but there's something syrupy lurking.
Yeah, it's sort of sweet but like effervescent, and like golden champagne. It does smell like. But I'm also getting that same kind of bitter green. I just think of tuberose or galbanum. Again, like a Chanel number 19, not the iris part, but that like bitter greenness. There's something that's quite a bitter sharp greenness underneath it. But there was that opening.
There's something pulling me by the tongue and say it, but it's not coming to my mind what this is. It's right there, like I don't know. It just reminds me of something so classic.
Yeah.
There's a note that stands out.
I think some of these, I feel like some of the earlier ones felt like old Guerlains, and some of these ones, and again, I'm not that familiar with the line, but there's a bunch of those Diors that are like Diorama, Dioressence, Diorella, and they're just like, I don't think they like sell very well, but if you like them, they're like the old classic Diors that really made the house, and they're like often these like florals of a mix, of...
It's got to be a violet accord in here. That's what this...
Yeah, we've seemed to have smelled several things commonly across them where it's like
a dry, leathery violet that stands out to me. Which one is this? This is Roja HAUTE LUXE.
Yeah.
Dry, leathery, powdery violets.
Oh,
maybe
yeah, okay.
Some rose.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean, of like And also this like sort of I get a labdanum like a sort of a resinous-y very sort of dark yellow like sticky oil resin kind of idea. Yeah, it smells. Yeah, I get the sort of violet thing, but I get a very resinous-y, sticky like balsam.
Yeah, fir balsams, absolutely.
That kind of idea.
Woody, sappy balsams.
Yeah.
They've got this furriness, not fur, but
or like not like almost
like pine fur.
What molasses is to honey. I'm getting that feeling of like it's kind of like a sticky, gummy, very like
resin.
Yeah, it's just resinous. Yeah, it just sort of smells resinous, I think.
It's almost like a hit of frankincense in the back.
Yeah.
But I can't get past that violet. Like that's.
And like we can cheat, like we can just look at the list of notes and be like, oh, I smell these 7 things, but they're well blended. Like firstly, they're well blended, so it's very hard to like kind of pick apart what they are,
which makes it more abstract.
Yeah, but I think that's a nicer. I mean, the different styles, like there are ones where they, they're clunky and they sort of have the characters popping out, but also I feel like they transition. Like we've seen several transitions happen, so there's like a lot of moves going on, and there's lots of players at the same time, and they seem to be all like they've rehearsed together. Like this play seems to be well. Moving and it's moving well together.
And how fun would it be if you can just smell it and go, oh, I get the rose, I get the jasmine, I get the iris.
Yeah.
Then like abstract is just way more interesting.
Yeah. And also like I just want to make a point here, which is like there's a sort of there's a school of thought which is sort of reductionist, right? So like Elena is sort of this thought where they say once you've mastered the concept, you reduce, and you basically take out as much as you can until it's really just the essence of the idea. And it's sort of like when you smell, say, Kurdijan's work, or you smell a lot of Elena's work, where they're really like 3 to 5 moves total, and they're perfectly balanced, and they've done them the way you want to do, but it's sort of just the bare essence of it. I think Roja really actually proves that the opposite is sometimes true as well, which is just because it's more complex doesn't mean that it's muddy. When you know what you're doing, then it's very good. I think the tendency, what they say, is that the young guys come out swinging and they throw everything they have at the formula and they just load it up with all kinds of stuff, and it ends up feeling very muddy and very jumbled, and it's not very good and well made.
No.
So what they learn over their careers is how to reduce until they sort of know just what to put in, and it balances very well, and that's sort of what the mastery is. But I think Roja proves something different, which is that you can do mastery through complexity when you're very good. Like you can conduct the orchestra, and I think Roja is very good at that. I think he has the best players on every single instrument, and he is performing at the top with the full orchestra flexing at a time.
Yeah, this
is
rich
opera music. These
are deep and they're complex.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's conducting the classic, like, whatever, Beethoven's and Tchaikovsky's and all these things where they're very complex pieces that were written by masters, and he has a nod, I think, in many cases to the classics that took years to figure out and had richness and complexity, like the old Guerlains, like the old Dior's, where they were you had to get to know it. You would wear it, and over weeks and months and years, all these other characters would pop out, and it would smell different on you than on someone else, and you would sort of get to know the fragrance, and there was depth to it. Whereas I think a lot of the new stuff, there just actually isn't depth to be seen. You just spray it, and that's the whole story it has to tell.
Right.
Whereas these, you and I,
it's all top notes.
Yeah, you and I are like, I think, at least for me, very impressed, even just with the first impression, but I know that there's a whole long story that's going to unfold with these fragrances.
Absolutely.
There's a whole other story to go from there.
Okay, last, and I left this last purposely. This is Elysium.
Yeah. I don't know if the different concentrations smell that different. Like at some point, I think I got
this is the Pour Homme Parfum.
Yeah, I had a.
How many concentrations are there
of? Because I think there's like
the
eau there's an eau de parfum. There's a pure parfum, which is like the darker blue bottle, and then there's a cologne parfum, which he's done
the parfum, the pure parfum.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I had a decant over the years of the eau de parfum. So I think it's like pretty similar. I also want to say that I think this is the one that people seem to keep comparing to Aventus or something for some reason, which
It's very spicy.
Oh, okay. I do
leathery, woody, citrusy.
Yeah, okay. Actually, and I now sort of understand the Aventus
I can
thing.
see that.
I think though,
thing.
Yeah, I think anytime you take something that's smoky and something that's citrus, people say, "Oh, Aventus,"
but it's not bit of birch tar.
Yeah, it's not really true. I guess it's in the same lines, but I wouldn't say it's a clone of Aventus or nah. I think Aventus was unique and interesting in the combination that they did. I give them credit for that. But you can't just say that anyone who's done that kind of idea since is now copying Aventus. But look, I mean, that's a hallmark of a great fragrance. Everything since seems like a copy. It just becomes such an iconic idea. You know what I mean? Like Tesla had this like big touchscreen. So now everyone's got a big touchscreen. Was that just the natural evolution of the industry and they were the first to do it? Or is everyone copying them? I just think they probably were ahead of the curve and it inevitably would have gone there. We were talking about the iPhone and the full screen, and how BlackBerry had the buttons. I think inevitably everyone would have moved there anyway. I just think Apple jumped there first because they were ahead of the curve. But like, it's not like everyone's copying them since. I get like a pomelo. I'm getting like a pomelo grapefruit, almost like a pink grapefruit. I do get a bit of a cleaning product soapiness, a bit of a bathroom cleaner kind of vibe on this, and then there is some smoky birch tar thing, nowhere near as aggressive as Aventus. And also Aventus has this like green apple. There's black currants, so it's a little bit kind of berries.
Rose,
there's this like
jasmine.
metallic, kind of ambergris thing underneath it too. So it kind of is more of a structured thing. This seems less.
This smells
structured.
already so much different than when I had first sprayed it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a lot of that lemon and birch have kind of passed through.
Yeah, there was a nice, and also the quality of the citrus.
Yeah,
like
it's so smooth.
That is like great. Like I don't know what they are, but like those are bright, fresh, like natural smelling citruses.
Sparkling citrus.
Yeah, and I don't know like how much
touch of incense.
I don't know how much of what he's doing is naturals or synthetics, but I suspect, to be honest, that a lot of this is natural because they smell natural. And if they aren't, then they're very good synthetics, and they're very well selected, and they're very well blended.
It's great, but I have a hard time appreciating this after smelling all of this other stuff.
Yeah, but also he's building a comprehensive line. He's building a sellable line, and so if all of it's that stuff, like he's got to have stuff that's
to bring
approachable or easy, or the guy who wears that stuff, he's like, I need something for summer. I need something that's hot. I can, and I think I took my decant on a hot vacation, like it was a hot weather vacation, and I was like, okay, this will work.
And it worked for you.
Yeah, it was easy to wear. It was hot and fresh and had a little bit of smokiness. Yeah. Yeah,
fresh, woody, smoky.
Yeah.
Citrusy.
Yeah, I don't think this is unique or new. I don't think this adds much to the fragrance world story. But it's, it's good work. It's maybe it's definitely simpler than the rest of them. It's nowhere near as like impressive.
I don't think he's trying to do, to create something.
Yeah, I don't get a whole lot of story here.
Right.
Yeah.
Just something very modern, masculine.
Yeah, smells of a high quality fresh citrus.
Is this supposed to be a blue fragrance?
Yeah, I think the bottle is a blue thing, and there may even be like some berries or something in there.
It doesn't feel like a modern blue fragrance to me.
Yeah, I get like a pomelo and like a pink grapefruit.
Maybe in the opening burst, I sense the touch of blue. I don't know if that's marketing or.
Yeah, the bottle is like it's like a graded blue color. And I think the writing is like a yellow or something. I don't like. Yeah, for me, I don't know what you associate with blue. Like, so for me, this is like a yellow and light brown fragrance. Meaning, I'm getting like the wood, the smoke, and mostly a citrus, an airy, open citrus with like a bit of a woody base to it.
Right.
Which probably traditionally would have just been like cedarwood or something, but in this case, it's a bit smokier, spicier. Not a lot, but it seems to be a little smokier. But it seems to be mostly a fresh citrus.
It's quite smoky, cedary. There's that hint of birch.
Yeah, a little bit of that smoke, but not as aggressive.
It's like this peppery birch.
Yeah. I think it's nice. I think it's pleasant. I think it's unimpressive. But if you want to buy something from Roja and you want something fresh, I guess, whatever you want to think of as fresh. But
fresh, woody.
Yeah, this is amongst them. I think he's got this to offer. But like the Vetiver is a more interesting one, I suppose. And I smelled actually one of the guys had Britannia, which I think was actually like an aquatic kind of fragrance. It was a salty marine aquatic thing, which was unusual for Roja.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm really grateful for this sample pack. Thank you so much to whoever is responsible for this. If you're familiar with these or any other Rojas you'd like to discuss, I'd love to hear your comments. Always love reading your comments. You have anything final to add before we say
I think
goodbye?
the line is worth checking out. I think they're expensive, but I think you can get often splits or decants, or there are other ways to get it. And ultimately, it will feed through the retail channels. But I think this is, if you're interested in sort of older styles of fragrance, if you're interested in very high quality, if you just want like the best quality, I think this stuff is very good. I think it's very well done, and I think it's really worth smelling. And this is also just thanks to Roja. This is an amazing setup that they sent you to give us the opportunity to smell it and to wear it.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think, they are expensive amongst, the more expensive things available, but they're great value for your money.
Yeah, I think they're really showing what fragrance can be. I think they're pushing really to show how good this can be.
And they might not be for everybody, especially a lot of these older classic inspirations, but they're definitely for enthusiasts or connoisseurs. So
yeah, cool.
Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all again soon. Bye.